Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool, and I was watching a Project Pine Hills video about this channel lock lineman plier. Actually, it was a little smaller than this one. This one here you can see is the 369. I think his was the 368. So it was a bit shorter. And it got me thinking about something, and that is this little 6-inch Kaiba lineman plier I've been meaning to do a video on. It's a Japanese made tool. But let's take a couple of tangents first. In the Project Pine Hills video, first of all, if you didn't see it, but you are subscribed to his channel, something's going on, and I actually found the video that I was looking for here on this plier down quite a ways in my feed, which doesn't make sense. It should have been at the top. But anyway, so keep an eye on that. Sometimes subscribing and unsubscribing and resubscribing can fix things, but I don't know what's going on. Might have had something to do, I'm guessing, with a maybe a transcript translation feature that YouTube had. I don't know. But anyway, he did a video on this, only the smaller version, and mentioned he saw somebody using one for fencing. Well, actually in Channel Lock's line, this is one that I've used for fencing. This is actually more for, you know, rod busting or working with rebar and wire, and it's a great design. I mean, this is a classic. In fact, I think this is probably one of the more popular applications of the channel lock plier or lineman style plier. Now, a lineman I'm defining as something that has basically a non-fully closing grabbing area here that's used for crushing, in the old days, for crushing wire insulation, for stripping it. You'd smash it there and then you just pull it off. And then having a big set of cutting knives and then a nice healthy set of jaws, often with a crosshatch pattern up there, and not a whole bunch of other features. Yes, you could do some reaming, and that's actually what this head works well for. In the Klein version, and this is one of the reasons I'm highlighting this Kaiba plier, is because Klein doesn't make, to my knowledge, make this little 6-inch lineman anymore. Now, this is in the premium line of the Kaiba pliers. I'll get to that, but let me finish the fencing thing. So, yeah, you could fence with this, and I don't mean like, you know, jousting kind of fencing. Instead, you know, working with fence. I work with a lot of fence, but mostly it's barbed wire. And I've done some videos on fencing pliers. You know, I grew up with this one. It wasn't mine. It was my grandfather's. I ended up with it. I think you can see that. I don't know if it is. It's Crowder and Company, USA made. I'm not sure the date on this. Crowder and Company started building pliers in, I think, about 1860 was when that company started. But this is actually a fencing plier, and this was my old fencing plier. It was a little narrow, and it was before I really attacked tools with grinders. But if you look at the finish work down here, this hurts. Usually you're wearing gloves because of, you know, in my case, I'm working with barbed wire often, but those hurt. Anyway, I had upgraded, and that's what I do on this channel. People ask why your tool's new. Generally, they're brand new. Yeah, because I just got them, and I'm upgrading. But this was my upgrade. This is a DeWalt fencing plier, you know, staple pulling, grabbing, bending wire, spinning. Generally has shear cutting rather than knife cutting on the design, and that's where this one came into play. You can see it's got three different, get that to focus there, 3 different ways of shearing something like barbed wire. I mean, it's steel wire. It's not super hard at all. But anyway, I thought I'd upgrade with these, but check this out. This is a sticky plier, and that is really disheartening when you're using it. I'm disappointed, DeWalt. Why don't you send me one of these that is nice and smooth? Look at this thing. It's probably 100 years old. Look at this. Look how smooth that thing is. Just enough resistance. It's not falling. It's not slop. You know, if you get slop in these kind of shear areas, then it doesn't work as well. But that is just silky smooth. Look at that. That's exactly what you want. But anyway, going back to this guy. That's why you're here. This is the KEIBA 6-inch lineman plier. A really effective little plier. Obviously, as you're shrinking the head of the plier, say compared to the kind of the classic, you know, OG here, the Klein, You can see it is smaller, but it's just a reduced size. They haven't done anything else to it that would change its effectiveness. The leverage is different. So if I'm working with something like this, I can grab some like solid strand 12 gauge wire. I could snip this thing all day, even though these are pretty aggressive dipped handles. Nothing too amazing there to cushion it. If I go to something like this, well, you can see right up here where I've tried, I cannot cut through this. I probably could if I started bending. This one I got used, so it's not a fair comparison. But then if you go up to something like the 9-inch, you know, you can snip this stuff all day, no problem. It's like breaking spaghetti. Pop it off. Anyway, these are reasonably priced for a premium Japanese plier. They're about 22 bucks, I think, $22, $24. Not a whole lot. I'll put a link to a website that sells them. I did not get these on Amazon. Amazon does carry some Kaiba pliers, you know, with the little horse logo up there, but they do not carry this specific one. I had to get it at another store. And apparently they've got a really elaborate heat treating process. So they've got an extensive bit of technology for an old world plier. And apparently this is like the most, the highest manufacturing numbers of any Japanese plier. And you notice that gold ring, and that gold ring appears throughout this plier. And that's one of their premium things. They don't, now this is kind of interesting. Garnet Tools, who's another OG on the YouTube tool channels, many years ago, like 7 years ago, had a video about a pair of Kaiba needle nose pliers he got, and he was thoroughly impressed. I'll put a link to that video in my description if I remember, but it was interesting because he tried to track down what the composition of this metal was, and it was something to do with like bullet casings, I guess is what he discovered. And so he was thinking brass. He was thinking actually the casing, but a bullet is, you know, other materials. Could be brass, could be copper. But anyway, if somebody knows exactly what that is, it's supposed to keep it really smooth. This is a very smooth plier, but it does have a little bit of resistance when you get to this point. It's not silky smooth like I like at that point, but there isn't this wind up to a big solid, you know, lock up like some pliers have. You can feel just how smooth this is. Something's going on that's high tech here. Very, very fine finish work, polishing work on this. Get that to focus there. And this is a pure example of a small lineman. You can see here on the size, we're dealing with about, what is that, about 6 inches. If the focus is odd, I'm playing with a small spot focus to see if I can keep things in focus. I think I'll go back to my old way of a larger zone focus. But anyway, what we have is just an excellent expression of a classic in terms of a small lineman, a 6-inch lineman. So if you don't have a tiny little lineman, I mean, here's what is this guy here? This is Klein's, this is the D201 7-inch with the northeast head on it, and then this is the 6-inch. So if you wanted a 6-inch plier, 6-inch lineman, and couldn't find a Klein, or you wanted to buy a new one, or the Kleins were too much because they're on eBay as vintage collectibles, you can get something like this. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, and check out Project Pine Hill's channel. I'll put the link to his channel lock video down there so you can see what that's all about, and make sure that you're subscribed on his end. All right, with that, Doc out.